Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman. My name is Patricia Wald-Hopkins and I'm your host. And today I have a very special guest, Traci Thomsen. We have a rich history together. She's just a wonderful human being, light being. She is a restoring guide, a client-centered hypnotherapist, a repatterning self-oppression, cultivating empowered self-sufficiency. And so I am delighted to have her on this episode of the podcast to talk to us about how she has been divinely inspired in her path, in her life. So with that, Traci, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and where you are now, and how divine inspiration, if it has played into that.
Yeah. Wow, that's so much.
It is. Just take little snippets.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Trish. I appreciate it. And,
my honor.
Yeah, it's always great to talk to you and be in your presence and play with you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So where I love that first. I'm like, the challenge of where I came from.
Isn't that fun? It's always fun to kind of look back.
Yeah, where did I come from? I actually recently had this really cool reading with this gentleman that took me up to get to have a really good peek at my starseed skills. And, that was super great because there are several things that I kind of learned from that, but one of the things is that, all the inner seas and the inner journeys and the meditations that we take to go look in different places as multidimensional, seeing with different lenses and getting to play in that realm. There's still a parts of me, at least, and I think a part of a lot of people that really want to know like all the truths and we can go on these great journeys in our imagination and use those imaginations, but is it true, or is this like really just woo woo, like we're just like out there and what is true about this? And so the reason I really liked it is because I was like, okay, well, I get all these downloads of, an experience of perhaps a different star seed skill or light language coming through, or getting to see peaks inside of what that could have been. Mm-hmm. But this was like, I got to see exactly where, when I zoomed all the way up there with him, like what my blueprint was, like really, through, it was just like really there. And I was like, oh, wow. So when I tuned into in dream time, something about the Sirius starseed lineage, and I was just, I was intrigued by it. That's because it was like within 10 degrees of a really specific point on the chart. And it like just, it made it so it could land with me and I could feel like it was more true. So there's something to be said about those blueprints in astrology, and really getting to see the coordinates and the real map, and getting to see it from, my experience of it. And when I go into dream time and when I zoom in and out and get a feeling of it and get downloads, and then also get to experience it from somebody who's really, really good at looking just at that starseed system and like, even though I had an idea of it, this was like a different view, and so it's really great to get to work with other people, and get to have a different view and come at it from a different lens. And that really like was something that I took from that. So I got to have a little bit of a more expanded view of like where I came from. And it's really helped me to put it all in context, which for me, if I were to just look at my gene keys chart or my human design chart, I don't have a lot of definition up top in my head or my ajna where ideas and like logic come from. But I do have some channels and some keys up there that are in my main blueprint. So even though I don't have definition, I'm still wanting, I'm wanting that logic. I'm needing that in a certain way. And although, and I just think it, and within a frequency band or a frequency of one key, take the 17, for instance, which could just be a lot about logic and opinion. But it's in my SQ. And my SQ is my spiritual quotient. And so I've had to contend with that a bit, like I want to know the right opinion, or I have this opinion, or somebody else has an opinion. Right. And also like a softening and an opening to something higher, something that's more farsighted, because it is farsighted when it gets, when you're really looking at it. So, I mean, getting to have and really experience what farsightedness is within, like, how I experience things, my identity, where I come from, how I make sense of that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Like when I hear you saying that, it's almost like you need another line of evidence, right? You need multiple lines of evidence, right? That's like it just helps for it to like land in your body, right? The SQ is about feeling it in your body, but for you have to have different sources of energy to make that imprint. I don't know, maybe that's just what I'm hearing with you, but that seems true. Well, beautiful. It's so true. And it's coming to know yourself and where you came from is happening in every moment. Yes, it is. It's always coming in and becoming more clear. Like, is this resonating or is this not for me right now? And like, what's my next, move? How do I move with this energy? It's got to be in I have one mentor, you've heard the thing, divine timing. And then the other thing, that,
was divine order, right? So you can't get one to one place if you haven't done the other thing first, especially if you haven't moved something out of your life that is no longer resonant before you can get those next downloads or codes. So it sounds like you moved out some things and made room for this star lineage piece to really land. And that's beautiful. Do you feel like your inspiration comes through you, through the stars, mostly, or what else is there for you?
No, it's really a combination. Here we go again. It's really been a combination, and my ability to be able to zoom out. And there's something about if you stay really zoomed in on something, which is great for a time. When we're talking about time, it's great for a time, and then knowing when to kind of zoom out a bit. So that you can experience things in a different way, and also just get an idea of like, how am I supposed to, like, what is the experience that I'm meant to show up for right now? So it happens in all different ways for me. Like, well, you asked a specific question, but so I'm seeing these nesting dolls of reality, like I always do right now. And so Earth comes in to that too. So if I was always in the stars and always just, concentrated there, it wouldn't be, it'd be great for a moment, or, to have a certain experience, but I really want to experience everything as truth. Like my attraction sphere is 61, and it's all about truth. And again, that's up in the head. And if I stay like, oh, this is the truth, and I'm like really too close to it, then I'm not getting a full picture, and it's not the highest octave of what truth could actually be. And also you start going down these rabbit holes trying to chase truth, which I've done a lot of, and it can be really maddening. So again, to like go, oh, this is what's showing up in my awareness, and I also want to get a really good idea of the all of that, like the whole of that, and where I fit into it, and what it means, and all of that stuff, and what's the best way to get that higher truth, that higher knowing, and not be attached to it, and all those things. So again, zooming out and being in that SQ, that's, softening to the experience of that. And that really, we're grounded in Earth energy, and Earth energy is not stagnant. No. And so being able to be with that as well is a whole nother thing. And all the pulses and the rhythms that are connected to that are really equal to everything. And right now, emotions are coming up for me, like being able to be in emotionality, and having that kind of be able to, you be able to like be in the heartbeat of the mother, whatever the emotion that's coming through the collective, yourself, and being able to be with that on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis. Yeah. And be with the movement of that, and not be stagnant there either, because that's when, and that's another way that you can really kind of, what's coming up for me is like, you could drive yourself crazy being, if you can't, again, be with the fullness of that, then it's another place where I've seen myself get taken away with somebody else's ebbs and flows, or just be too close to my own, or all of those things. So, yeah. So all these things, I mean, you know, and with that, the pulses of the earth and being in that and how it moves so much, like, how do we stabilize ourselves in that? How do we understand the moment, know our place in the moment in that? And I'm really like, that's what I work on a day-to-day basis. That's where I, that's like the school I'm in. And it's not, yeah, it's definitely earth school. I mean, we're all here, but like, how do I be with all the pulses of the stars and everywhere I came from, coming in here in my experience and all these experiences, like that could be a lot.
Yeah.
And it is. And also, like, how do we stabilize ourselves within those energies and become one with them, but not taken away, you know, like not letting them take us away into, you know, somewhere we can't come back from, you know, it's all of that. And so that is a moment by moment, like, practice. And everybody here is, especially in my circles, and if you are on Instagram or is plugged into any of those social media outlets, it's another place where you can get taken away, and you can really practice within those outlets. I mean, even if we weren't hooked up to that, we could practice, but that is like a surefire way, and it's a really, really good way to get how this works. And yeah, so we're having to really hone in on that truth that I was talking about, the truth of who I am, and how I want to show up, and who I want to be, and how I want to, and that's all really kind of self-centered stuff and your own experience, but also you're getting this idea of how you personally play with the collective or the tribe, what you're seeing, and then also like how you can play with the collective. And what you see is what you're what you have committed to, how you've committed to playing for the time being. So if you don't like what you see, there's definitely like a way that sometimes we give our power away and think that we are not creating that which we are playing in or seeing. And that's part of the practice for me.
Definitely.
Like always being aware of that, and like, oh, well, if I don't like what I'm seeing or what's showing up for me or how I'm feeling or any of those things, then, you know, how do I see something different or play this differently? Or, you know, like, what do I want to see then? What do I want to see? And if I know what I want to see, where is that right now? And how am I creating that, you know, or not creating it? But I've been home and just kind of free to do what I want to do and play how I want to play for the last month. And I always wished that were the case. But then when I have it right in front of me, it's like, whoa, you know, like I'm creating this now. How do I want this to be? You know, like I you know, heard I need some rest. So I did that for a while. And that was a whole thing. And, you know, and playing with rest and what that means, and old ideas of rest, and like letting whatever needs to go so that I can see what rest really needs to be right now. Right? Because you know, I had some ideas and that really wasn't resonating. And so what is showing its face? How do I want to play in this rest? Because that was just a voice that came in. I just knew you know, the rest came, and I was like, rest, that's boring. Right? Of course, my personality was like, rest. It was an old idea of rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed, what's the, then I true to the 61 in my attraction sphere, I needed to uncover, the investigation of rest, the truth of rest. What is that for me right now?
Yeah.
The dropping and uncovering that. And then I was done with that. So then it was like, okay, now what's next? And writing out that transition.
Mm-hmm.
Happens from one insight to the next. And feeling myself there in between. And then, okay, I'm ready to get moving, but where do I move? Like, what am I divinely inspired by right now? And being quiet enough for that to drop in is a practice.
It is.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, okay, did I really just hear that? Go get on the treadmill? Like, shouldn't I go to nature or something? No, go get on the treadmill. Okay. And then, okay, I'm just going to suit up and go down there and to my exercise room. And then I'm walking and I realize that I realized a lot of things because I've been having a date on the treadmill for a few weeks now. And it's been like it's just opened up so much awareness for me. It's so funny. And I still have this idea that this thing that my ego is saying, no, you need to be out in nature, connecting in nature. And I've done a lot of that. And no, right now the invitation is to show up here on this treadmill until it isn't anymore.
Right.
But the funny things that happened when you listen to, you could call it a lot of different things, but I'm going to call it spirit. And it really literally became spirit because I realized after a couple of days that when I looked down, the branding on this treadmill is spirit in capital letters.
Great.
Then a couple of days later, I was looking down as my feet were going on the treadmill and the branding was, the belt rolls and it's spirit as it goes.
Perfect.
It's just funny, how these things work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are just examples of how being divinely guided works in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a lot about letting go of ways that habits and programs, and then just opening to what is dropping in, and then really listening to that and just like having some fun with that, having some fun with it because it can be really hilarious.
Yeah, it can be. I agree. Yeah, that ego likes to try to control things continually. I wanted to say a reflection, if you're open for that, about what you said, and just tell me. I'm just trying to distill down information, but it's almost like, and maybe you can give this in how you're supporting yourself, but how you support other people as a restoring guide and a therapist. But so it's like there's a lot of different ways that we can learn about ourselves, and the whole point is not to get fixated on one particular story, right? One particular way of seeing yourself, but to allow what needs to come through into you and integrate that. And then you see what's showing up in the world. And then if it needs to be retuned a little or a lot, then you kind of go back out, like you said, go back out, get a bigger view, bring it back in, integrate it, look, and kind of see what's, where you're at. And then I heard you say something about being like almost having to be still to receive that message. And this is, and maybe it's not true, but for you, but that's what I felt. And I've heard it before, is that like when you can pause and let spirit come in and redirect you, then you might find yourself in some interesting new places, like you said, the treadmill, right, versus nature.
Yeah.
So just that's how I've heard some other people explain it. That they get to, and for me, I have to get really still too. Is that what happens with you, or do you find it to occur differently?
Yeah, well, there are times in our experience as human beings right now in this time and space continuum, and that's when we're in certain brain waves, right? So when we first wake up in the morning, and probably before we even get out of bed, but even that first hour when you're getting up and having your tea or coffee or whatever you're doing, and then also when we're going to bed at night, those are the time, unless we're in a hypnotherapy session, or we're doing self-hypnosis during the day at some point. We're kind of always doing self-hypnosis and we don't know that. But those are the times when our brain waves are in theta, or even maybe a little bit, as we wake up a little more, we're in alpha, but, we're usually in beta, and that's when we're doing our thing, and we know, we're just kind of going through our day, and then we go in and out of alpha, though, usually. Like if we're driving in the car and we finally look up after 10 minutes and we realize, oh, wow, I wasn't even paying attention. You'll hear hypnotherapists and different people say that. And it's true. I mean, it's so funny when we do that and we realize, oh my gosh, we weren't in what we weren't in was beta brainwaves. We went into alpha.
Okay.
So it's interesting. And the brainwave states correlate with your heartbeat and heart rate variability, and which really also are in tune with the Schumann resonance and all of these different, they're like nesting dolls of reality again. And they're all kind of ebbing and flowing all the time. And we don't necessarily have to know any of that. It's just what is. Yeah. But I would say, like, at those times, we're more open to suggestibility. Mm-hmm. And we don't really, unless we do know that. And my mission is to have everybody know that, and to be really, get really clear about that for themselves, so that they can be, they are able to create and step into the fact that they are actually we are actually creator beings. Mm-hmm. And we're not victims. Mm-hmm. And while we can't always know what's gonna, drop in, and and what's gonna happen during the day, yeah. We do have a choice on how to react mm-hmm. to those things, even in spite of our reptilian brain and all of those places where, that kicks in, where we're like, oh, fight or flight and all that stuff. And we've all had to contend with that. And yeah. It's, you can either stay really scared about mm-hmm. that. Mm-hmm. And I'm still working through that. I think we all are, because it can really take over our life if we let it. And we are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And in that way, like really knowing that you can give yourself suggestions, and you get to create that which you see. And we're practicing that. That's my practice all the time. And I help walk people through that in the different ways that I do. And so usually, things show up in our lives, something shows up, and it's always nice, whether you're really good at being a guide for somebody else or not, or yourself or not, it's always nice to have somebody else on your walk. Right. Sometimes you need another set of eyes and ears, or a witness to what's going on for you. 'Cause you're, at a place on your path where you're kind of entangled in maybe some old patterns or habits that have just been coming up probably for lifetimes or through your DNA. And that can get real condensed. It can get condensed in your body as a symptom. It can get condensed in your mind, and then that has you reeling out of control in your mind. It comes in all these different ways. Or you just don't like what you see. You just don't like, the job that you have. It can be really simple, but it shows up in a lot of different ways. And sometimes we need someone to walk with us on that. And or a group of people. I mean, it can happen in all different ways. One person or a group of people, and just to be able to have somebody else or a group of people that can walk with you through that and help you see and come back to the fact that you are a creator being and you are creating this, and you get to create like who it is you want on that walk with you.
Right. Yeah, you definitely. I mean, would you agree that when you work with one another, or as a mirror almost, or a group, you actually can see so much more because they can see the parts that you're kind of blind to often.
Yeah, Trish,
360.
Totally.
The 360.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so interesting. I was a part of what's called Dream Group here in Portland, Oregon. Been for many, many years, and I joined it, I don't know, like back in 2012, 2011. And I'm still connected with the Dreamer Group here, but that was like my first real group experience where I was conscious of when you're in a room, or you don't even have to be in the room. You can really be, you're just connected to so many people in your family, or your chosen family, or just people you work with, or whenever you're around consciousness. And the thing is, even if you're not tuned into this, you always are, because there are sentient beings and there's sentience all around you, whether it's trees or, the wool that makes up your sweater, or whatever, the food that you're eating, all of these things, the stones, the crystals, just everything, the life force that's within and pulsing through everything you are a part of. And just so that we become more aware of that, and the more that we do become aware of that, and we hone in on the fact that we're all we're not only showing up as a creator being, but we are co-creating with everybody. And that it's kind of scary at first when you start realizing how, like I was saying, that we're really powerful beings. Well,
right.
When we start all being conscious of that in a container, in community, especially if we've decided to be in that, and there's like a shared intention, and we're organizing around a specific event, or I don't know, and we are literally bringing consciousness to a pinnacle point, and we're like becoming consciousness in motion, like in real time. It's like there's all these words that could bring that more alive. And so great.
Yes, more hands, the more people that are present, the more consciousness that's present, right? It's like like the synergy, right? That's how I always like to think of the synergy of the group. And hopefully the group that you're part of, what you're creating is something that will be good for you in the end.
Exactly. And that's
part of discernment.
That discernment's a big word I've been working with, especially in the last year or two, is really like, what is discernment? And what that word showed up in my oops, my earring. Yeah, so discernment, like, just when those words show up, then you delve in and see, like, what does that mean for me? And that has been a big one.
Yeah.
All dance with discernment. And then and then you come in and start connecting and creating, and things get amplified. Whatever, things get amplified. I mean, especially, whether your intention is to work in the light or not, there's a whole continuum there that needs to be seen in that shadow. And you can't really experience the gift and the highest expression without, like, just seeing all of it and being with the whole frequency band of a word or whatever it is that has come in for you. And being able to know that and explore it in its fullness is super important, because you don't want to leave any of that frequency band out. Otherwise it's not true.
Right? It's not completely authentically true.
Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot there, right? I mean, we could probably go on for quite several seasons on that one. So we'll have to you come back for another conversation about where you're at. In the meantime, as we come to a close for this episode today, what is the best way, for people to reach out to you, or to learn about what you're doing, or find you, where?
Yeah, well, I'm participating in a couple group projects, and or bringing some things alive in the form of the School of Light Collective, which has some master classes going on right now. And you know that, Trish?
Yes, I do.
You invited me to that potent portal. And so you can find me at the School of Light Collective.com, I think it is. And our master classes. And then also at kellythomsenbeauty.com, I co-facilitate a retreat called the Replenish Retreat, and I'm one of the facilitators, so you can find me there. And then also I have a linked tree if you want to work one-on-one with me in hypnotherapy sessions, or anything that you can think of that you would want to connect with me about. You can find my information there too. So, and that Linktree link is, it's Free Canary Wellness, okay. At linktree.com. And so those are the ways that you could best connect with me.
Great. Beautiful. Yeah, so I'll make sure that I include that in the description of this episode. But thank you so much for ending time with me and with our audience here today. It's been a pleasure. And
likewise.
It's always fun with you. And we will, we'll see you the next time.
Okay, perfect.
Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Too. Yeah, and we'll talk soon. Okay, I'm going to stop. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com. And you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day.